How are you guys doing? My name is Micah David, and today I'm here with another video for you guys. And this video is gonna be about, well, you guys seen in the title, how to use your camera, or how I titled my last video, how to know your camera. But this video is from take you from that step into higher. You know, I want to take you from a beginner into like a pro level. The goal of this video is I want you to be walking out of this video or tuning out of this video knowing way more than you did before. So in order to do that, in order to level you up and step you up to the next level, we're gonna go over 4 different topics. These 4 topics is bit depth, codecs, camera storage, and color spaces. These are things that are essential in order to get a better understanding of your camera and know what you're doing, know even what to look for in another camera. Knowing these things also can help you out in the post-production part. We're gonna help you choose what color space you should be editing or you should be recording in. We're gonna learn what codec you should be filming in or even editing in. Trust me in the process and we'll get you to be knowing a whole lot of stuff. Way more than you did before, all right? You're gonna be walking out if you're like a new man. So the first thing we're gonna dive into is bit depth. So now with bit depth, we're gonna be kind of pixel peeping here, meaning we're gonna be really diving into the pixels, the in-depth, really zooming in here. Bit depth is the amount of steps the camera takes in order to go from black to white, or from one color to another color. So kind of think of it like this. Let's say it takes us 5 steps. We have 5 big steps to get from black to white. If you zoom out, it's almost gonna be like you see the division in the different shades from black to white. You're gonna see the black, you're gonna see the gray, you're gonna see the lighter gray, you're gonna see the lighter gray than that, then you're eventually gonna see white or something like that, right? So that's what you're gonna see when you zoom out, right? But imagine if we had more steps. Instead of those 5 steps, we had 10 steps or 20 steps. So you see that black, you see that dark gray, you see that dark gray, you see that dark gray, the dark gray, the gray, you know, think of it like that. And when you zoom out, it looks like a smoother gradient than if you were to only have those 5 steps and those only like 3 different variations of gray. So in other words, a higher bit depth allows better, more precise color representation. Ultimately meaning that greater bit depth reduces banding and provides more smoother gradients and transitions to colors. So here are some common bit depths that you may have seen before, or some common terms that you've seen before. So a common bit depth that you see in most beginner cameras is something like 8-bit. 8-bit has 256 shades per color channel. The way that we get this number of 256 is that we do 2 to the power of 8 as an 8-bit depth. Yeah, and that's all. And as I said, 8-bit is standard for many consumer level cameras. And as we know, our color channels are 3 RGB, red, green, blue. Those are our 3 color channels. So if we do 256 times 256 times 256, we get 16,770,216 color combinations. The next common bit depth that you may have seen, that's what the Canon R7 has, which is 10-bit depth. 10-bit has 1,024 shades per color channel. Now 10-bit is usually used in higher level cameras, more professional cameras. Yes, R7, you are a professional level camera. Now as for the color combinations for 10-bit, that would be 1,073,741,824 color combinations. So again, that is 1024 times 1024 times 1024 or 1024 to the 3rd power. I know. I didn't expect to be doing math when I started getting into filmmaking and photography either. In fact, I got into this to get outside. The next common bit depth that you will see is 12-bit. Now this is 4096 shades per color channel. This is higher up there. We start seeing 12-bit more in the high-end professional film production cameras is where we start seeing 12-bit. Now, as for the color combinations, no, you guys can try to read that. Now that we covered bit depth, we're gonna dive into Chroma subsampling. We're gonna put that under bit depth as like a subtopic. So usually when you're reading bit depth, something that you would usually see is these numbers. Typically it starts with 4 and has 20 or 422 or 444. These numbers are a way to represent a type of chroma subsampling. Chroma subsampling is a method to compress video. This reduces the color information while also trying to maintain some acceptable visual high quality. It tries to make a video not look like it was compressed. Let me move to the side so you can see this a bit better. So just look at these 2 rows of 4 pixels. Now, if you have a 4:4:4 ratio of chroma subsampling, for every 4 pixels, each pixel will have its own color. Ultimately, this means that there is no compression happening in your video because each pixel has its own color. So now when we get into ratios like 4:0 or 4:2:2, this is where some video compression is happening. Anything like the ratios 4:0 or 4:2:2, these are ratios that do include some video compression. I hope I explained that good. I always hope I explain stuff good, but I want you to understand it. That's what I'm here for. I want you to understand. Hey, if you guys have any other questions, you can always go in the comments, let me know, and I will respond to it the best way I can and answer it. Okay? All right, hey. You're still in this, you're good. So we're gonna round back to bit depth and we're gonna talk about the impact on post-production with it. We're gonna go down the line here, starting with 8-bit. We're gonna imagine a scenario where you're recording footage and you have to pass it on to, let's say, a professional colorist. He's gonna color grade this video to the best of his ability. If you're recording your footage with 8-bit depth, it's gonna be very challenging for him to do much with it, to be very flexible, because 8-bit has a lot of limiting factors to it, along with the supporting fact that it is typically in beginner cameras. So all in all, your colorist won't be able to dive too much into it with 8-bit footage. 8-bit footage. Now, 10-bit is where you're starting to see more and more. This is definitely something that's a step up in the right direction. And when I mean a step up, I mean a step up. We can start doing stuff with 10-bit. You're starting to see 10-bit more and more in mirrorless cameras, which is a good thing. Mirrorless cameras are getting more and more advanced. It's like, dude, how do we have that in a little camera like this? In terms of versatility, like good versatility, like we can do something with this, yes, 10-bit is the minimum for that. Now, 12-bit. 12-bit is more on the higher scale, although this is where it gets the most flexible. Now, please don't get confused. 8, 10, and 12-bit are the more common bit depths that you see, but they're not the only ones. You see bit depths such as 14 or 16-bit. That would be it for bit depth. We're gonna move on to codecs. Okay. Now we're gonna dive into codecs. Now, codecs are short for compressor, decompressor. Take into account for the full name, codecs are used to compress and decompress your footage to make it more convenient for you as a user. This directly affects both your file size and your quality. Knowing which codecs to use can save you time and quality, or as I would like to say, it can save you time or quality. The choice of your codec can have a big impact on your post-production workflow, from editing speed all the way to final export quality. Now, there are 2 types of common codecs. I'm sure there may be more, but I'm not too sure. That's why I say common with these 2 types of codecs. You have a mezzanine codec and you have a compressed codec. Now, a mezzanine codec, also known as a lossless codec or an editing codec or an intermediate codec. These codecs maintain all quality, where there's no compression. These codecs are ideal for maintaining the highest quality of your video that you could possibly get. The strengths for this codecs is that they are optimized for smoother editing. So they're made to be edited, they're made for this. Smoother editing on top of that. This makes your workflow faster and more efficient and also more effective, because at least for me, when my video and I'm editing it and it takes too long, that could make me lose creativity, making my video not that effective. So if it takes less time and I'm going faster, I'm gonna have more creativity. So these codecs can make your workflow faster, more efficient, and effective. Now, the drawbacks, which I wouldn't even really consider it a drawback, is the file size. Now, these codecs do come at a significantly larger file size because there's no compression happening. So it says be prepared to manage more of your storage and everything. If you're a filmmaker, do you really wanna, this isn't full quality because I compressed it down a little bit because the file size is too, no. You should be prepared for that. As a filmmaker, you know this is expensive. So instead of just saying be prepared to manage your storage, be prepared to have more storage. Now, common examples of these mezzanine or lossless codecs are something like Apple ProRes, ProRes 422, ProRes 422 LT, which stands for ProRes 422 Lite, or ProRes 422HQ, which stands for highest quality, or regular ProRes 422, or ProRes 4444, or Quad 4, and other codecs like Avid, DNX HD, and GoPro Cineform. Now, we're gonna dive into compressed codecs. Compressed codecs or lossy codecs, these are codecs all about efficiency, compressing your footage, aiming to compress your data into smaller file sizes without sacrificing too much quality. Do we seriously have to do this? Now, the strength to compressed codecs is that it saves you storage, so when it comes to sharing your files, it'll be quicker to do so, and then it'll be easier. It doesn't take so much out of your storage. Hey, I have 3 hard drives, 3 2 terabyte hard drives in my computer, along with the 1 terabyte SSD. You gotta be prepared for this stuff, man. Now, drawbacks to compressed video codec, along with this compressed, I feel like I'm allergic to the word. I feel like I'm getting hives. Now, with compressed codecs, when it comes to editing, it can be sluggish. It can be slower because it takes more of a toll on your computer. You see, each time you play back on this footage that is compressed, your computer has to take time to decompress the footage. So each time you press play, your computer has to decompress it. Each time you stop it, goes back to being compressed, and it could just make your workflow more slower and also more strain on your system. Now, common examples of a compressed codec is H.264 and H.265. Yes, my R7 films in H.265. I don't see your point here. Now, real quick, I wanna go over what IPB and All-I is, or All Intra. I went over this briefly in my R6 video, 6 months of experience with it, but I wanna go over it in this one with kind of more of an explanation. So for my Canon users, because I'm more familiar with Canon, I know that when you're choosing your quality, you see something like IPB or All-I. I mean, really depending on which camera you have. Now, IPB, or long GOP, I want you to know that this is a highly compressed codec or format. So let's say we have a row of frames here. Your camera is gonna process that footage as a group of frames at a time. Your camera is gonna take these frames, they look the same, smash them together. Take these frames, look pretty good, smash them together. That's how your camera compresses when it's using IPB. So of course, when you're taking this into your video editing software on computer, it could be more sluggish, it could be more slower because it's compressed. Your computer has to decompress it. Now, All-I, on the other hand, does everything IPB doesn't do, right? It takes each individual frame, takes it as is. Now, the main question when it comes to IPB or All-I, people are thinking, I don't see a quality difference. It's not necessarily a quality difference, it's all about the compression and the processing. That's where the differences mainly hit. Now, I wanna dive into compatibility with these codecs. Think of codecs as your foundation. Everything that goes on top of this foundation must be compatible with the foundation in order to go on top. Gotta be compatible. So when it comes to bit depth and codecs, you need to make sure that these two are compatible with each other in order to achieve the quality that you want. Here's another example. Some codecs handle higher frame rates better than the others. So that means to make sure that your codec can handle this increased high data rate without compromising quality. And it also goes the same thing with color space and codec. You wanna make sure it's compatible, because if it's not, you're not gonna achieve your desired quality or color space or whatever. Finally, I wanna go over how to choose a certain codec and when to use it. So here, we'll scoot over to the side again. So I want you to look at this triangle. Now, this triangle is what you can have. You can only have 2 of each with this triangle in a codec. You can have the quality and the smoother editing, but you can't have the lower storage. You can have the lower storage and you can have the quality, but you can't have the smoother editing. There's many codecs out there, and each codec had different combinations of 2 things on that triangle. Now, going off my knowledge, there's not yet a codec that has all 3 on that triangle. Now, something also to look out for your codecs is that there is also some codecs require a licensing fee when using them commercially, or instead you can just use open source codecs. All right. That's all with codecs. I had to get something to eat, bro. Okay, storage. You know what storage is. You know this is the place where you store your stuff, your videos, and your audio, all that stuff, right? So we're just gonna go skip that, and we're gonna talk about the types of camera storage, or the types of storage that you can use when it comes to your camera. Now, types of camera storage media, these are the storage types that you would actually put into a camera or that you would use to transfer footage from your camera to a computer or some type of device. Now, before we get into this, you need to know what read and write speed is. So your read speed affects how quickly the data from your camera transfers over to your computer. Think of it like this: your storage device is reading over the data that it's sending over to the computer. So how fast can your storage device read over each piece of data so it can get sent over the computer? Now the write speed, and again, we're just gonna take in consideration that we're talking about a camera in this scenario. The write speed impacts how fast the camera writes data on the storage device, on the SD card or on the CFast card. So with that in mind, let's get into the different types of storage devices for cameras. The first one is an SD card. The SD card is usually commonly found in consumer level cameras or prosumer level cameras. They're widely compatible and affordable, yet they become really limited and restricted when it comes to capacity of the storage. Another type of storage media we have is a CFast Express Type A and Type B. Now, Type A, these ones are used in higher end professional cameras. The benefits with a CFast Express Type A card: it has a higher storage capacity. It is future-proof, as many modern cameras, cinema cameras, are implementing it into its systems. I try to sound smart there. And it's pretty better with high file transfers and high frame rate data recordings. Cons or drawbacks for these Type A cards is that they are less common and they are more expensive than SD cards. Now, CFast Express Type B cards. These cards are also used in high-end professional cinema cameras. Now, the pros about this is that they're generally less expensive than Type A cards, but also more devices use Type B cards, and also has adequate read and write speeds, file transfers, and video recordings. The cons to Type B cards is that they are slower than Type A cards. Now, how does read and write speeds impact your recording? Because it does, but how does it? Now, higher write speeds may be essential because you don't want to have any dropped frames in your recording. The more data and quality and all these things that you load onto your card or your device, it does require higher write speeds. For example, the Canon R7, Canon recommends that you use a UHS-2 SD card and not a UHS-1. So when you get into cinema cameras, you want to make sure that your storage device meets the minimum requirements for that camera, the minimum read and write speed, or even the storage capacity for that camera. You want to make sure you choose reliable brands with durability and good performance. Something like Angelbird or SanDisk. Typically for me, when I just finish a video project or even one of my YouTube videos, I like to take that video and store it on a hard drive. Hence why I have so many hard drives. Soon when storage starts getting filled up or something, I want to put all my videos onto that hard drive, take the hard drive out and store it somewhere, maybe in a NAS system, network attached storage. You put it in there and you can access it via cloud. And that is all for the storage part. We're getting through it, ladies and gentlemen. One more. Now we're gonna be getting into color spaces and models. Now, color models are like the formula or the framework used to represent color information. They define how colors can be represented as combinations of basic color combinations. Did I get it right, Jimmy? So here are some common color models that you have probably seen. Something like what we talked about before, RGB, red, green, blue. RGB is a type of additive model, meaning that this color model is a type to create color by adding light, adding red, green, and blue. Now, RGB is a native color model for the human vision and most displays. Another color model that you may have seen is YUV. Luminance, which is Y, chrominance blue, which is U, and chrominance red, which is V. This is what you call a luminance chrominance model, meaning that this color model separates color information into brightness, which is luminance, and color information, which is chrominance. This color model allows color information to be compressed separately from brightness. And there are some more color models that you may have seen, like HSV, which is usually used for graphic design or photo editing or something, and also CMYK, cyan, magenta, yellow, and I think K is black. This is usually used with printing. Color spaces are the specifics of these color models. They define the exact range of colors, which is also known as gamut, that can be produced within these color models. Color spaces, color models, you gotta stay with me. Two different things. One and the same, two different things. Now, color spaces define how colors are reproduced and encoded, which is crucial for capturing images or videos and also the post-production. Now, common color spaces are sRGB, Adobe RGB, Rec 709, Rec 2020, Cinema Gamut, DCI P3. These are all different color spaces. Now, when choosing a color space, you want to consider many things. What type of project are you shooting? Are you doing video? Are you doing photo? Are you doing web in general? If you're doing photography, it'll probably be best for you to use sRGB or Adobe RGB, as most editing platforms work best with these color spaces. If you're doing video production, things like Rec 709 or Rec 2020, or if you're using Canon, Cinema Gamut, these are different color spaces that you can use in video. Now, it also matters about your editing workflow. If you're using something with a wider gamut, like Cinema Gamut, you'll have a wider range of colors. It'll make it easier for you to match colors or to get a variety of different colors, which allows you to get more vibrant and accurate variety of colors. Wider color gamuts also affect color grading when you're trying to change up different colors. How much range do you have with these color spaces in order to play around with each different color that you want to play with? And also, when you're putting out your work somewhere on different screens, how do those screens perceive the colors? Sometimes even your computer screen that you're editing, that you're color grading on, they can't even comprehend the gamut of your colors that you're working with. And also, wider gamut of colors, those typically have bigger file sizes. So again, we're going back and forth with these bigger file sizes, less file sizes, compressed, not compressed. I mean, it should have been given right now. And that is all with color spaces and models. We did it, team. All right, bro. It was a marathon. Like I told you, it was a marathon. I was starting to doubt. I'm like, am I gonna get through this? I really hope you guys learned a lot from this video. It's hard for me to kind of take what I already know in the back of my mind and put it down on paper to do this video. I need it to actually be brought to my attention. Hey, how do you do this? Oh, yeah, I know how to do that. I'll show you a video on this. I'll show you a video on this. So if you guys have any questions or any comments that you just want to say, please reach out in the comments and let me know. Make sure you guys like, subscribe, and comment on the channel, and share it as well too. Share it to your friends so they can also learn this with you and become a pro with you along with this series, yeah, anyways, see you guys later. Covering 5 topics. Bit depth. My hands are kind of getting ashy. 1 second. I'm not gonna be around here tossing my hands around. His hands are ashy. Okay. All right. Hi. Okay. All right. Anyway, as I was saying. Great. Okay. So in order to do that,